All right, so today we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting.
Okay.
How Corpus Christi and the entire coastal bend
Okay.
are basically teaming up to get their voices heard in Austin
Right.
for the 89th Texas Legislative Session.
Okay, cool.
We've got this document that lays out like their whole game plan.
Okay.
And plus, we're going to bring in some of the insider info that we got from this CB to ATX event
Right.
that they had. And
Yeah.
what's so cool to me is that it's not just like one city or one organization.
Right.
It's like this whole region coming together with these like shared goals.
Yeah, it's strategic, right? When you're trying to get things done, especially in a place like the Texas Legislature,
Yeah,
having that united front can be super powerful.
totally. So who exactly is involved in this?
Well, it's a real team effort.
Okay.
You've got the United Corpus Christi Chamber of Commerce,
Okay.
Visit Corpus Christi,
Right.
and the Corpus Christi Regional Economic Development Corporation,
Yes, right.
all on board with this.
So awesome.
And they're even hosting this event called CB to ATX
Okay.
on February 11th and 12th, 2025,
Okay.
where they're going to head up to Austin and meet with lawmakers
Okay.
to advocate for all their priorities.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So we've got the who.
Yes.
Now let's get to the what.
Okay.
What are their top priorities for this legislative session?
Well, unsurprisingly, water is a big one.
Right.
They're pushing for long-term solutions
Right.
to secure the region's water supply.
Makes sense.
I mean, especially with how much Texas is growing
Right.
and the fact that, they're right there on the coast.
Water is essential.
For sure.
So what are they actually proposing?
Well, they're looking at a mix of different options.
Okay.
Desalination,
Okay.
which is basically turning salt water into fresh water.
Right.
Aquifer storage and recovery,
Okay.
which is basically like banking water underground for later use.
I like that.
And even tapping into brackish groundwater.
Brackish groundwater.
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's kind of like a middle ground
Okay.
between freshwater and saltwater.
Okay.
It's not as salty as seawater,
Gotcha.
but it still needs to be treated
Okay.
before you can use it for drinking or irrigation.
Interesting. So they're really exploring like every possible avenue
Yeah.
to make sure that they have enough water for the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
And speaking of the future,
Yeah.
they're also really focused on windstorm insurance reform.
Yeah, that's a big one
Huge.
for coastal communities.
Right.
What are they hoping to achieve on that front?
Well, they want to make sure that coastal residents have access
Okay.
to affordable windstorm insurance coverage.
Okay.
And they're specifically pushing for a statewide plan
Okay.
to share the costs of natural disasters.
Okay.
Kind of like a safety net for everybody.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Instead of just coastal communities bearing the brunt of
Right.
like hurricane damage, the
exactly.
whole state would contribute to like mitigating those risks.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that a major hurricane
Yeah.
impacting the coast
Uh-huh.
can have ripple effects across the whole state.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed something else on their agenda that really caught my eye.
Okay.
They're seeking $75 million
Wow.
to protect military installations
Okay.
from future base realignment and closure decisions.
Right, BRA.
BRA, exactly.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a big deal.
yeah,
The coastal bend has a strong military presence.
right,
You've got bases like Naval Air Station, Corpus Christi,
Mhm.
Corpus Christi Army Depot.
right.
And these installations are economic powerhouses
Yeah,
for the region.
right.
They provide tons of jobs,
Yeah.
support all the local businesses.
So this funding is about making sure those bases stay put
Exactly.
and continue to contribute to the economy.
Keep them there.
It sounds like they're taking a very proactive approach
Yeah.
to prevent any potential closures or downsizing.
Yeah. And it makes sense considering that BRAC decisions can have a huge impact on communities,
Yeah,
both economically and socially.
for sure. All right, so we've covered water.
Yep.
Windstorm insurance,
Mm-hmm.
support for the military bases.
Yes.
What else is high on their list?
Well, workforce development is another big one.
Okay.
They're really focused on connecting education with industry needs,
Okay.
creating a pipeline
Okay.
from classrooms to careers, basically.
Yeah.
So they want to make sure students are graduating with the skills that employers are looking for.
Yeah, so it's about making sure that the workforce is prepared
Exactly.
for the jobs of the future.
Precisely. And speaking of preparing for the future,
Okay.
they're also advocating for energy innovation and industry growth.
Okay.
They see the coastal bend as this hub for energy production and are looking at different ways to support that.
Does that include nuclear energy?
It does.
Okay.
They're advocating for an all-of-the-above energy strategy,
Right.
which could potentially include exploring nuclear power.
As a source of reliable and clean energy.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
It sounds like they're really thinking long-term
Yeah.
about the region's energy needs.
For sure.
Okay.
And that's not all.
What else?
They also want to strengthen the tourism industry,
Makes sense.
which makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the coastal bend's beautiful beaches,
Right.
all the attractions they have.
But they're looking to boost that visitor economy,
Exactly.
attract more tourists,
Yep.
generate revenue for the region.
And to do that, they're even requesting something pretty unique.
Oh, really?
They want to demolish the old Nueces County Courthouse
Really?
and be released from the debt and the deadlines associated with it.
Wait, why would they want to demolish a courthouse?
Well, it seems like the old courthouse is kind of an eyesore
Okay.
and a financial burden.
Okay.
So by demolishing it, they hope to revitalize the area,
Okay.
free up resources,
Gotcha.
and potentially attract new development. Okay, so that's an interesting twist.
Yeah.
So they're taking a multi-pronged approach
Right.
to boosting tourism,
Yeah.
from attracting visitors to improving like the aesthetics of the area.
Exactly.
And then on top of all of that, they're also pushing for improvements to the ports.
The ports, yeah.
Yeah,
Those are vital economic engines
they are.
for the coastal bend.
Hey, huge.
So they're advocating for AI-driven solutions for ports
Okay.
and support for the Port Capital Improvement Program.
So it sounds like they're looking to modernize the ports,
Yeah.
improve efficiency,
Yep.
and keep those ships moving.
Exactly. And they're also seeking funding
Okay.
for some specific initiatives at Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Oh, like what?
Well, they're requesting funding for a convocation center
Okay.
to attract talent and drive economic growth.
Okay.
And they're also seeking funding to address nursing and mental health shortages,
Wow.
which would have a huge impact on the community's well-being.
That's great. We've covered so much ground.
We have.
It's clear that they have a very ambitious agenda
They do.
for this legislative session.
It's all connected to this idea of building a stronger,
Yeah.
more resilient,
Yeah.
more prosperous future for the whole coastal bend.
It's impressive to see how they've identified these priorities
Yeah,
and are coming together with like a unified voice
for sure.
to advocate for them.
Yeah,
So now that we know what they're fighting for,
right.
why does this matter?
Yeah.
For someone living in the coastal bend,
Right.
what's at stake here?
Well, these issues have real-world implications for everyone in the coastal bend.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Having a reliable water supply affects everything from your daily life to the region's ability to attract new businesses and jobs.
And affordable windstorm insurance.
Oh, yeah.
That impacts people's sense of security
For sure.
and, even maybe influences whether they can afford to live in the region.
Exactly. And those military bases we talked about,
Right.
those aren't just about national security.
Yeah.
They're intertwined with the local economy.
Right.
Losing one of those bases could mean thousands of jobs lost
Right.
and a ripple effect on businesses throughout the region.
It's like all these pieces fit together
Yeah,
to create the big picture of life in the coastal bend.
that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And that's why understanding these legislative priorities is so important. It helps you see how decisions made in Austin
Right.
can directly impact your life,
Yeah.
your community,
Right.
and the future of the coastal bend.
Okay, so they've got this ambitious agenda.
Right,
But how do they actually plan to get things done in Austin?
right.
It's not like they can just walk in and demand these things.
Oh, no, it's definitely not that simple.
Right.
The legislative process is complex.
Yeah.
There's lots of moving parts,
Right.
competing interests.
Right.
But the Coastal Bend delegation has a plan, and this CB to ATX event is a big part of it.
Yeah. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So it's not just a fun trip to the Capitol.
Yeah.
They're going to be meeting with state lawmakers,
Okay.
attending committee hearings.
Okay.
And basically, making their case for why these priorities matter.
Okay.
For the whole state, not just the coastal bend.
So it's about building relationships,
Exactly.
making connections, and finding common ground with the people who actually have the power to make these things happen.
Exactly. And having a unified voice is key here.
Okay.
When you've got multiple cities, organizations, businesses, all singing from the same song sheet, it sends a powerful message to lawmakers that this is something they need to pay attention to.
It's like strength in numbers, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it shows that they're serious about getting results.
Okay.
They're not just presenting a wish list.
Right.
They're coming prepared with data research.
Right.
Compelling arguments to back up their requests.
So it's a mix of strategy, persuasion, and good old-fashioned relationship building.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah.
It's all about working within the system to make their voices heard and advocate for the needs of their communities.
I'm curious, though, what if they hit some roadblocks?
Cool. Okay.
And it seems like some of these priorities, like the statewide windstorm insurance plan, could be pretty controversial.
You're right. That one could be a tough sell.
Yeah.
Not everyone in Texas lives on the coast.
Right.
So getting buy-in from lawmakers who represent inland districts might be a challenge.
I can see that.
Yeah.
And maybe even some folks on the coast might be hesitant to share the cost of windstorm insurance if they think their risk is lower.
Definitely. There are always going to be different perspectives, competing interests. But that's where effective communication and compromise come in.
Right.
They'll need to make a strong case for why a statewide approach benefits everyone.
Right.
Not just coastal residents.
How might they do that?
Well, they could highlight the fact that a major hurricane impacting the coast doesn't just stay on the coast.
Right.
It can disrupt supply chains.
Right.
Impact energy production and cause economic ripples across the whole state.
Right. If the coast is vulnerable, the whole state is vulnerable.
Exactly.
Oh, boy.
And framing it as an issue of shared responsibility rather than just a coastal problem might make it more palatable to lawmakers from other regions.
Right.
But you're right. Not every priority will be an easy win.
Yeah.
They'll need to be adaptable, willing to negotiate, and maybe even prioritize certain issues over others, depending on the political climate and the level of support they can garner.
So it's a bit like a chess game, figuring out the best moves to make.
Yeah.
And anticipating potential challenges.
But it's not just about winning or losing individual battles.
Right.
It's about advancing the overall goal of creating a better future for the coastal bend.
This is what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
We take something that might seem dry or complicated, like a legislative agenda, and we uncover the human stories, the strategic thinking, the potential impact on real people's lives.
It's all about connecting the dots and seeing the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we've talked a lot about the what and the why of these priorities.
Right.
But I'm also interested in the how much.
Okay.
How will these initiatives, if successful, affect the economic landscape of the coastal bend?
That's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
So let's start with those long-term water solutions.
Okay.
A reliable water supply is like the foundation of a strong economy.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine businesses wanting to invest or families wanting to put down roots.
Yeah.
They're worried about having enough water.
Exactly. So investing in things like desalination plants or aquifer storage and recovery could attract new businesses, create jobs, and even boost property values.
It's about creating an environment where businesses can thrive and families can prosper. And what about the windstorm insurance piece?
Okay.
How would that impact the coastal bend economically?
Well, if they can secure affordable windstorm insurance for residents, it could really stabilize the housing market. Right now, sky-high insurance premiums are a huge burden for a lot of people.
I can imagine that makes it really tough for families to budget.
Oh, yeah.
And might even discourage some folks from living in the area.
Absolutely. So by making windstorm insurance more affordable, they could attract more residents, encourage investment, and just generally give people peace of mind. Plus, if people aren't spending as much on insurance, they have more money to spend on other things, which stimulates the local economy.
It's like a ripple effect.
Exactly.
And speaking of economic impact, we can't forget about those military bases.
Right.
Protecting them from closure is about way more than just jobs, isn't it?
You got it. Those bases are deeply intertwined with the entire regional economy.
Right.
They generate billions of dollars in economic activity, support local businesses, create a whole ecosystem of industries that rely on their presence.
So ensuring their long-term viability is essential for the economic health of the coastal bend.
And then there are those A&M Corpus Christi initiatives. Funding for a new convocation center could attract conferences, events, tourism dollars, further boosting the economy, plus addressing those nursing and mental health shortages is an investment in the community's overall well-being, which also has economic benefits.
It's like they're thinking holistically about how to create a vibrant and thriving community.
Exactly.
Which ultimately leads to economic growth.
And their focus on tourism and port improvements also plays a crucial role in that economic engine. Enhancing the visitor economy creates jobs, supports local businesses, generates tax revenue that can be reinvested back into the community.
And the ports, those are like the gateways to global trade, right?
They are. Modernizing and improving those ports is essential for keeping goods flowing, attracting international investment, and maintaining the coastal bend's position as a major player in the global economy.
So it's about staying competitive.
Exactly.
And creating opportunities for businesses to grow and expand.
Precisely.
Wow. When you put it all together, it's clear that these legislative priorities have the potential to create a ripple effect of positive economic impact throughout the coastal bend.
They do, and it all comes back to that unified voice we talked about earlier. By working together, advocating for their shared vision, and strategically engaging with the legislative process, they're creating a powerful force for positive change in the region.
This has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
We've gone from a seemingly dry legislative agenda to a nuanced understanding of the interconnectedness of these issues and their potential impact on the lives of real people.
And what's great about this is that it's just the beginning of the conversation. The legislative session will be full of twists and turns, compromises and negotiations. It'll be fascinating to see which of these priorities gain traction, how they evolve over time, and what ultimate impact they have on the coastal bend.
And for you listening, remember that you're not just a passive observer in this process. Your voice matters too.
It does.
Stay informed. Engage in the conversation. And let your elected officials know what matters most to you.
Exactly.
The future of the coastal bend is being shaped right now.
It is.
And you have the power to be a part of it.
You do.
We've only scratched the surface here. But hopefully this deep dive has given you a deeper understanding of the issues at stake and inspired you to get involved.
Who knows? Maybe one of these initiatives will spark a groundbreaking innovation, attract a major investment, or even inspire a new generation of leaders in the coastal bend.
That's a great point.
The possibilities are endless.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the coastal bend's legislative priorities.
Thank you.
Until next time.